Welcome to another episode of Third Culture Africans. And my guest this week is, and I do this on every episode, so I'm going to do it again with yours, popularly known as Mr. Mahogany, a multi-award winning founder in production events and has one of the largest model agencies in Africa. It is none other than Mr. Sola Oyebade.
That's correct.
Wonderful. So I guess we've been trying to get this in the diary for a while. You're a busy man.
Sorry. I do apologize. Yeah,
you're a busy man.
It is busy. Trust me. I can't even tell you how many pieces I've been to before even coming here today.
This morning?
Yes.
Oh, I only just managed to get across Ikoyi. The sat nav says I'm 5 minutes away. It was not 5 minutes. So I guess if we can start with your early journey, because I think the Nigerian fashion scene has changed a lot. Also, the model scene has changed a lot, and the opportunities have exponentially increased. And I would love for us in this episode to talk about, I guess, your experience of that transition, because you were there at the beginning of it. And then we're now in, I guess, what everyone is calling the Renaissance. And all of a sudden, the world market is looking at our talent as an opportunity. So I guess let's dial back to early years.
How far back we going?
As far back as you can go.
Well, let me start giving a little bit of background about myself, particularly like how I got into the industry. For me, it's funny enough, it started when I was in secondary school.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went to I did part of my secondary school in the UK. Then I came to Nigeria and I went to Maryland Comprehensive Secondary School, which is near Ikeja. And it was very much a mixed school. So it was, there were not too many mixed schools around at that time, but this was one of the mixed schools. And then, they used to have this thing called literary and debating societies. Most people don't know about them, but basically it was meant to be, you told your parents that you're going to another school to go and do debates. Do you understand? So we'll say we're going to go and do debates, and loads of schools will come to, and schools take it in turns.
I was in the debating society.
And then really it was a chance to go and party and stuff like that. And then, we'll do fashion shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And because we were a mixed school, we put together some really good choreographed shows.
Oh, nice.
So we get things like ladies' night, and guys will have walking sticks and bowler hats. So we put all of that together. Yeah. So from that time on, I started being in charge of doing the choreography and putting the shows together and stuff like that. So of course, I really liked that. Then I went back to England to do my A-levels, kind of got quiet then, didn't really do too much. And I came back to do my degree. I decided I love Nigeria so much. So I came back to Nigeria and I went to the University of Lagos. Now, I kind of grew up by myself, so to speak. So I had to find a way to fund myself through school. And I decided to do modeling.
Oh, wow.
So I was like one of the few male models. I think there were, at that time, there must have been about like only 2 or 3 male models.
How do you have that? How do you have that conversation? I'm going to be a model to your parents.
That's where I was lucky, like I said, because I grew up by myself, and my parents were like in England. That bond wasn't there. They weren't in my business. However, people around me, aunties, uncles, people that kind of knew what I was doing, like, are you useless? How can you do such things?
It wasn't a career.
No, it was really frowned upon.
Wow.
They viewed that if you modeled in those days, you must have come from a bad background, wayward. Wow. You had nothing to do with your life.
Yes.
It was very much that sort of thing. Because those were the days when, being a footballer, a model, an actor were frowned upon.
Anything in creative, cultural arts, forget about it. Forget about it.
Accountant, doctor. You understand?
Is speaking football going to pay your bills?
That was how it was seen then. Now, parents are killing themselves to get their kids to do these things. So I used modeling to put myself through school. So I literally, I was never in school that bad. I don't even know how I passed. Wow. I must be honest with you. I don't know.
But that's how you funded your education. That's how I funded my education. And your living expenses.
And everything. And I lived pretty large then, I must be honest, compared to the others.
Modeling was paying at the time?
Oh, yes. Modeling has always paid.
Okay.
You may not think that you're going to become a millionaire, but it's always paid money. Yeah. You understand? Being one of only like 2 or 3 male models, when we did all those Milo adverts and all those different Guinness and all those sort of things, you were paid for them. It was why it was so stressful was that we didn't have mobile phones then.
Yes.
So the only way to know about casting, we didn't really have emails then either.
No.
So the only way to know about casting is you literally had to go to the different agencies, advertising agencies, and sit down there each day to find out if they had casting. So you literally went from
agency to agency.
And if you're lucky and there was a casting or you heard about it and you're casted, then fine. If not, so that's why I spent most of my time out of school more.
Because you're on the road, looking for work.
But I loved it. It was good fun. Then I left uni like immediately after I finished my exams.
Yes.
I didn't even wait. I never did youth corps, by the way. Oh. So I can never run for president.
You can never really run for like a CEO or something.
I can't be a commissioner or anything. I'm stuck. So I went back to the UK and I did all the right things in terms of employment. You know, I got a job in a bank. I did all those sort of things that they wanted. Bored out of my mind, but I still
you were in it.
It would make everybody happy.
Yes.
But at that time, I now decided I wanted to set up. I set up in 1994. I set up Mahogany.
Yes.
Which was we started off doing bridal shows. Okay. We started off with the African Caribbean bridal show.
Okay.
We also had a wedding dress shop. And at the same time, I set up Mahogany Models. Well, soon after I set up Mahogany Models.
So was this because you, at the time, could see the need for an agency different to what was already there?
So for those 2 aspects that I went for, you know, I got into the UK and I looked around and I see the wedding show, UK's national wedding show, this and that. And I went down to them because I like seeing what's going on in the industry. There were no black people.
No.
No black people at all.
None.
If you wanted to get married, you had to use a white caterer. You had to get a white wedding dress from a white type of designer. Yes. Everything was just white oriented. I said, what's going on? I started now investigating. Hey, where's the black stuff?
Yeah.
And there was none. So I now said, okay, let me set up the bridal.
Yes.
A bridal we called it the Mahogany Bridal Show.
Yes.
And it was aimed at what we call them people of color.
Color, yes.
That's what it was. So for us, people of color was everything non-white. So it was African, Caribbean, Asian, Hispanic, mixed race. Yes. That's what we consider it was non-white. Yeah. White people were allowed to come to our events and exhibit and attend and all of that. But we were very clear about what our goals were.
Yes.
And I found out the same thing within the modeling industry. Around that time, I think it was only Naomi Campbell. The man was just getting out of the business. So there were hardly any black models around. And when you went, they only wanted mixed race models.
Yes. They had to have
only 1 or 2 of
very
them.
American.
Yes, with the big
catalog
fluffy
hair.
Afro, curly hair sort of thing. That's what they wanted at the time. And I said, no, let's just think right. So I set up my business and get it going. And it was hard work because there were no businesses. You know, I remember I started working with Kashiba, who's a very big wedding girl. And
so I know of you from those early days because a friend of mine modeled, and another friend was a designer. She does a lot of styling now for like music videos here. Z from ZI.
Oh, really?
And Valerie.
Right.
Yeah. So I have, and I interned at some point for Z actually.
Okay.
Many years ago. But yes, I remember Kashiba. The whole. And
so I remember when Kashiba came first because I knew him when he was in. He went to the University of Ife. That's where he started. I remember when he came for the first exhibition.
Yeah.
All he had was drawings. That was his exhibition stand. Wow. Drawings of his clothes. And for most people, they had not really set up businesses. They knew they wanted to do this sort of stuff. So they just had leaflets and a banner here and there and stuff like that. And that's how we started. Eventually, of course, people's businesses started growing, grew bigger, and they started doing things properly, having dresses, and we started doing fashion shows. So that was where the mix of models, having Mahogany models and having Mahogany bridal show came into being. Because we now wanted to do the bridal shows and we had no models. So we now had to look for models. Then I had to train the models, I had to show them how to walk because there were no opportunities for them in the UK at that time. So that was very much how we got started. And I was in the UK up until 2013. I'd been coming back and forth to Nigeria to do some shows from around that 2009 up until now. Along that journey, I'm sure you're going to ask me questions. So
go ahead. No, go ahead.
But there were lots of things that went on. I remember when we set up the modeling agency, you know, and then I got a phone call. I think it was from the New York Times or one of those newspapers at the time. And they said to me that they'd like to have my views on the new Italian Vogue that was coming out, which was the all black issue. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yes, I do.
So they told me about that, and they said that the quote is that because it's an all black issue, they expect it to be the worst selling Vogue ever. I said, really? Well, I said, I don't believe you. I don't think that's going to happen. And then Facebook had just really come into place then. So I set up this Facebook page and we called it The Black But Invisible. And the caption there was that we wanted to make the Italian All Black Vogue the biggest selling ever. Cut a long story short, we did do it. You know, they reprinted for the first time in their history, reprinted twice. And if you have it, it's a collector's item. You know, so it was one of those things. But during that journey, I got a lot of what's the word? You know, when somebody hits you back at something. Yes. That I was racist. You know, I was this, I was that.
You're too pro-black then.
Yes. But they were particularly concerned about the racism part, that why would I set up an agency that excluded white models? So I spent a lot of my time on the BBC and all kinds of things, educating them, saying, listen, here are the numbers. So we got into the Evening Standard. There's so many articles where we broke down the numbers. I said, okay, here are the top agencies. They have 400 models. They have only 3 black models. 2 of them are mixed race. So how am I being racist when the numbers stack up that you're not using them? You look at, I mean, then fortunately Jordan Dunn was, I think with all this going on, she was just discovered around that time. Yeah, she was, And they really put a lot of emphasis on Jordan Dunn.
Dark skin, black model from the UK.
They really put her out there. I mean, she's actually coming for GT Bank. A masterclass, so she's going to be speaking next week. So they really put a lot of emphasis on her, and I said, that's just one model. Why are you trying to make it a big deal because you discovered one model, and you're trying to make it? We're not racist.
That's very much the thing, right? I think for a long time we've operated on this one in, one out system.
Yes.
So, especially in the UK, I think the US is totally different, but in the UK, it's whatever industry. It's only allowed to be one. And once that one, it's one in, one out. And what's interesting is there are lots of people doing great things. And one of the reasons for the show was to kind of go, actually, no, we can tell our own stories now.
That's right.
We can curate our stories and we can help build ourselves up. Because I think for a long time, the aspiration to have our stories be told on CNN or BBC or Vogue or any of that stuff. And I always make this joke going, all of those articles have never paid me a dime. You know?
And you're so right about that because when I was there, one of the things I set up, I also did a bridal magazine called Mahogany Bridal magazine. I set up, and that was also to sort of compete with the likes of Cosmopolitan and all the wedding magazines and stuff. It's hard work. Of course, it didn't last too long.
We'll talk about publishing soon.
That's just another ball game. So it was always, for me, it's always been part of this. How can we tell our own story? How can we do things for ourselves? I mean, I think where I've been quite fortunate that a lot of the businesses that, particularly that in the UK, and even quite a lot of individuals and people that are here now at some point passed through Mahogany.
Yes.
Just simply because we were the first, we did a lot of things. So either as a model, as somebody that's a designer or a caterer or something like that, you know. Now in Nigeria, it's completely different. You know, there's so much more business. The business has kicked up.
Yeah.
So you don't have that issue. UK is still better than before. I still think it's not perfect, but it's still better than before, you know. So I find that